Hiya, welcome to another podcast. A little bit different today. As a lot of you are aware, we did, I did a little bit of a blog about my mental health about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we had such a massive response from it. We thought we'd do a little podcast on it, put it into the group, and then get people's views, and hopefully, like, help people by having this chat, hear a little bit about what all of us have gone through, and coping methods and stuff like that. With me today, we've got Rachel, you're in Tenerife, aren't you, Rach?
Gran Canaria,
Gran Canaria.
Maspalomas.
Whoa, look at her lying there in the heat, suntanned, new tattoo. Have a look at your tat.
You did say tat, didn't you?
I did.
There you go.
Nice, isn't it?
I love it.
I'm going to go in 1875 myself, I think. So Rach, as you know, is I don't know, she's sort of our head moderator, really, isn't she, I suppose. You've been with us from the very beginning. With us also is Russ, who's another one of our moderators. He's actually our newest moderator. You all right, Russ?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Good to be here.
Good. Nice to have you, mate. And then we've got Dave Taylor. You all right, Dave?
I'm very good, thanks, Steve.
Yeah, Dave wrote a really good piece in the project following my little blog. And I was taken by Dave, and I had a chat, and I just thought it'd be nice to do this and get a few of us face to face and just see, our stories if we want to share them, and coping methods and stuff. So, I mean, for me, you sort of know what happened to me. I don't really know what happened to me myself, and I think that's one of the things with mental health. You don't actually realise that your mental health is affected until it sort of hits you. Do you know what I mean?
So that dark cloud slowly comes over you, doesn't it? And then it just hits all at once.
Yeah, and it's weird with anxiety, because I still suffer with anxiety now. I get bad anxiety at times, and for me, anxiety is really, really hard to explain. It's like impending doom. It's like something horrible is going to happen, but you don't know what it is. It's like you're expecting something nasty to happen, And Dave, you had, like, obviously had a bloody life-changing moment, didn't you, really?
Yeah, I mean, listening, you both right. Obviously, it's that dark cloud. I think Rachel says that it is the darkness that comes from nowhere. When you first start suffering, you've no idea what it is. When I think back to early 2000s when I lost my son, my first marriage broke up, and just got to the point where I didn't want to be at home. Now I'd got a fantastic house, beautiful kids, a loving wife that we'd known it. We grew up together. We've been together 20 years. A great job. You got everything going for you, but you were just miserable. And I can remember one morning I was having a shave, and I stopped mid-shave and just was staring into the mirror. And I was like, I don't even know who that bloke is looking back at me. And I think that was the moment when I thought, I've got to change. I've got to do something here. And whether it was the right thing or not at the time, my reaction was just to leave, to get away. I've always been, from the age of 13, always been the one in the family that looked after everyone, got everyone through everything. For the first time in my life, you felt like you hadn't got the energy to do that, and you just needed to go and do something for you. But
it's strange how those things happen. You put a little post on Facebook yesterday, which I thought was really true. And I think I put a post on there, right? The only time you're ever really yourself is when you're a child, because it's things that happen to you during your life that that shape what what goes on in your head, isn't it? Outside pressures, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's quite strange, because like what's happened to me over the last couple of years sort of bring it all back from where you sort of felt in a position of strength, and you had a really, really good life, and was comfortable with who you were, what position, the impact you had on other people, how you lived your life was just destroyed from sort of when I fell over in France, as Tony rightly would say, with indigestion. You know, I've never recovered from that. I've made out I've been okay. You have different ways of trying to cope, but they're not really. But the counsellor I speak to, everything goes. We've got to the point where the trauma my body and my brain are going through, which is stopping me move on and affecting just my general health, all goes back to my childhood. Even though, you know, I had that life-changing moment, what it's done, it's not actually the recovery of that and the, you know, that incident. That was just the trigger. It's then brought all of those issues back, which all come from fear of being abandoned, which if people know me, it's a load of nonsense, but it's, you know.
I think that's right. You know, I understand what you're saying there, because like for me, things like my phone notification, which could set off anxiety. And people that know me go, fucking, oh, you're fucking scared of your phone going off, like, you know. But it isn't that. People just don't really get it, do they?
Something you said the other week about when you message your daughters and you don't get a response. I have exactly the same with my sons. I love my
terrible,
sons.
that is. That's overthinking, isn't it? You know, I mean, overthinking is the worst enemy. You know, I can message one of my daughters, don't hear nothing. If I don't hear anything for a day, I mean, Sarah is really, really busy all the time. But if I don't hear from her in a day, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, fuck, have I upset her or something? Or something happened to her? And I'm like, you know, and I'm in Spain, so I can't pop over and see her. You know,
irrational mindset.
Yeah. Russ, how about your experiences, mate? Come on, I read a really, really fantastic piece that you wrote once.
Yeah. Gosh, I used drink and drugs to cope with my mental health for many years, and did a really good job. In fact, it was pretty much my solution to my mental health was to stay high or drunk, and it felt that way for about 10 years. You know, it covered everything up. When I took the drugs away, though.
Excuse me, just for a moment. Did you do drink and drugs before you realised that you had mental issues?
That's the question, isn't it? Because actually, I remember being around the same age as you, Dave, around 13, and I wanted to kill myself, and I took about 70 pills once when I was a kid. They were for my glands, and they weren't medicinal. They were like plant-based pills, so they didn't do anything. And my bloody mother, of all people, said, "Well, I hope you get a bad tummy." So that wasn't great. But my mental health was already not great then, and you know, I think you hit the nail on the head, Dave. It was fear. Everything about me and everything about moving forward in my life and just dealing with what's in front of you I was fearful of, and I just had to change the way I felt. So, you know, with the drink and the drugs, that only got worse. And then I couldn't put them down all of a sudden. And when I couldn't put them down, I'm now a drug addict and I don't know how to stop. And you go to drug and alcohol services and they want you to deal with your mental health. You go to mental health and they won't touch you until you've dealt with your drug and alcohol. And it's kind of a vicious circle. It goes on and on. And I mean, you know, Steve, I work in a prison today, and most of the 90% of the guys have got mental health, drug and alcohol issues, and they're just put in a prison to, you know, shut them up, keep them away.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's like I was having a discussion with someone the other day about mental health institutions that don't. I mean, institution. I don't like using the word mental health hospitals, if you like, but they used to be institutions. But people that are sort of released onto the street now really shouldn't be in the public domain, and that doesn't mean they're a danger to the public. I mean, I did a mental health awareness qualification, and it was and I can't remember the exact figure, but it's something like someone with severe mental health issues is 20 times more likely to be attacked by a member of the public than they are to attack a member of the public. Do you know what I mean? So like you schizophrenics, you know, paranoid schizophrenic, everyone would like shit themselves. God, there's a paranoid schizophrenic in the pub. the chances are people are more likely to turn on him and attack him than he would ever hurt anyone. You know, it's this vision of mental health that people have, and people can be really flippant about it.
I feel like in 100 years they'll look back at society today and will be barbaric in terms of mental health. Do you know what I mean? They'll look back at us and say, "You did what? You just fed them pills to keep them quiet and dumb them down." And I think it's something like Dave was talking about trauma and stuff and childhood things. It comes from that, and yeah, trauma is the big one.
What gets me with if you looked at my childhood, it was perfect. I had the most loving, caring family around me, and yet everything is from that fear. But I put my fear is of letting people down.
Yep.
I was put on a pedestal from a young age, and I hated every second of it. I hate praise now. It turns my stomach, and it's created that fear. And Rachel knows me really well, and what we do, Rachel. And
Yeah.
You do it for your own reasons. You don't ever do it for praise. Me and Tony talk a lot. You know, we do it because there's times in the past when maybe we've not been good people and we've done things we're not proud of.
Yeah.
So we try and give back and put back because it makes us feel good. We don't need, but a lot of mine is that abandonment and the private and it's not anything bad. Don't want people to think that there's a private reason why I can't talk completely openly about my fear of abandonment. I'll talk to you privately about it, but not on here. But the other fear is that, you know, letting people down. Those are the two things that I always come back to and have affected my relationships, my mental health massively. And then whenever you've had something in life that's knocked you sideways, the impact is massive. And look, society just doesn't know how to cope. I was diagnosed as manic depressive, and they give me tablets. I don't even know what they were. I took one. It made me feel dreadful. I've never felt anything like it in my life. I threw them away, and it was probably the best thing they ever did because it gave me the strength to say I'm not standing for this. I'm not taking tablets. I'm sorting myself out. I actually hate taking tablets. I have to take 8 a day now to survive, but
of course, you know, like with your cardiac issues, you have to take, you know, that medicine is a physical thing, you know. But I think you probably know, Russ, that it's known as the chemical caution, you know, in the NIC.
Yeah.
You know, you want to keep people quiet. I don't know if it's still the same, but there it goes, you know.
It's a lot of different medications, isn't it? I mean, I think the idea of medication for your mental health, it's a tricky one because for years I said, you know, as much as I took illegal drugs, I wouldn't take anything from the doctor. I wasn't having it. I was, for some reason, you know, I'll take something off the street, but I'm not taking something you're giving me. Until I gave up drugs and I was about 2 years sober, and my depression hit again. And, you know, hang on, I've given up my car, my drugs and everything else, and my depression hit again. And I found for the first time in my life I actually needed help. So I did take the medication eventually, on the advice of doctors and everything else. And I took it for 3 months and it really helped. That's my truth of it. And the reason I took it is because, and I'm sure you'll all relate to this, but when you're in that kind of, whether it's anxiety, depression, whatever you're going through, it's the people around you that are suffering. You know, I might be in it myself, but my wife is just beside herself because she can't help me, you know. So there was a moment that I had to say, okay, let's try these pills. And I did it, and I did it for as long as they worked for me. And then I came off them slowly, and it helped me. So
I think that thing about sort of knowing where the origins of things come from as well is important. You know, with me, I can look back and feel guilty about things I've done or things that I haven't done. You know, and I don't. And the problem with that is that you can never put that right. You have to be able to, and I can't, but I think you have to be able to say, right, so from today then, right, you can't do anything about what happened yesterday, but going forward now, do the best you can. I do that, but I still can't put behind me things that have happened.
Yeah.
I can't forget them. I can't. They did happen.
I forget who said it. It's they say anxiety is living in the future and guilt is living in the past. You know, you can't do anything about the past, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. You can only
That
be
makes you anxious.
in the moment, makes you anxious. But as if you can get into the moment, which is really hard to do, and live today in whatever you're doing, live in the moment. That's where you're at peace with yourself. It's just hard to get there, especially with with everything that goes on in the world. It's really.
I was at a point the other week, and I've not said this to Steve. This is my opportunity to. The week you put that piece up, Steve, I was literally at the point where I was going to leave. I could see now, because of what we just spoke about, the impact on the most important people around you, and you felt like you were a drag on their life, and you didn't want to be that drag anymore. You didn't want to be the miserable person moping around. You didn't want to be the one that was sucking the life out of them. Therefore, just go. Which is where I was 20 odd years ago, you know.
No, you didn't do that.
And that piece made me step back and think. And then what I do, what I always fall back to, but it's more difficult at the moment with my health issues, is training. I've trained all my life, and it's one of the problems. One of the biggest issues we've trying to sort myself out now is because I can't train like I used to. I struggle to get any momentum, but just find a different way, find something different, water it down, you know. So
you know, training is. I mean, I do it for a living, so you know, I think if I didn't have to train, I probably wouldn't, because I wouldn't be able to motivate myself to do it, but I have to do it. So I have to say that I go into work some mornings, I don't feel like doing it. I mean, I take spinning classes and stuff, you know, and I don't feel like I want to do it when I go in, but when I come out, the endorphin rush is like, boom, you know, so glad I did that, you know, and it mentally, it's good mentally and physically, of course, you know. But then again, if you can't train, then what you do, you know. And I mean, a lot of people, older people, of course, they haven't, you know, just physically becomes impossible for a lot of people.
But there's different levels in there. I'm going back to they've sent me back to cardio rehab in Walsall, so I'll go back next week for 2 assessment sessions, and it's great because I'm you know, I'm one of the youngest people there. But it's at all different levels, and there's not enough of that. I go to the gym where I train. I've trained for the last 2 years. It's 24 hours because I'm up early, and I like to train in the morning. You go and you know, I'm 60 this year, and where I used to train, the young lads didn't want to spar with me, didn't want to train with me because I could smash them all over the gym. It's not that I sort of want to sort of be, I just want my own level of health and fitness. But when you go and you can barely lift anything, or you can't do anything more than a couple of minutes, and I go on, I love the bags, I love boxing. I go on for 20 seconds and I can't lift my arms and I'm blank my backside. You're like, I don't want to put myself in that situation. So there's not enough places for people.
So you know, your cardiac rehab. I worked in cardiac rehab in a mid-staff general hospital. So you know, phase 3, which is like in the hospital setting. So I know an awful lot about cardiac rehab. You know, is this one? So do they call you back for it now? Because it becomes scarcer and scarcer in the UK. They didn't want to.
They're taking me back, Steve, because I've convinced them. I've gone from 15 stone to 19 stone in 12 months.
All right.
And I barely eat. I still eat. Trish, my wife, Rachel knows Trish. I don't know if you've ever seen her, Steve, we've seen photo.
Celia?
She's a
I love Trish.
We train. We still Trish still trains. We still eat the same. She eats twice as much as me. I always say she eats it. I put the weight on. The only demon I have, I do like a drink. I don't drink anywhere near like I used to. I have periods where I don't drink at all, but I can't stop the weight going on. So they're finally listening to me and they're sending me back to rehab for assessment to see if they can do something for me.
So they'll do all the tests and that. You know, when you had your heart attack, it was completely out of the blue, I presume. So did you have any sort of intervention afterwards, you know, like surgical or anything like that? Or
So what happened, it was a cardiac arrest. So I didn't appreciate the difference, but it literally...
You're dead.
You're dead. I was walking, I was on day one of my latest 100k walk. I'd just gone across Pegasus Bridge. I was 5 minutes past it. We just had our mid-morning break, our first morning break, having walked, I don't know, probably about 5 miles, 5 to 10 miles. And I was feeling as fit as a butcher's dog. And it was like, I can remember it now. The picture in my head, I looked to the left, there was a French guy tending to his garden. We were just coming out of the village. You got a lane and then the fields, and then you drop down to the beaches. And it was like someone hit me over the head with a lump hammer. I was like, there's a wall here. I went to reach out for the wall, and darkness just started to come across me. And it got to about there. And then the next minute, I was waking up, coming off an ambulance. My first thought was I'd been in a car accident. I was like, what am I doing coming off an ambulance? I must have been in a car accident. And the first thing I said was, where's Trish? And the only thing that saved me is that a few more things that since I've been back and found out and met the people was, the doctor who walks with you was literally 5 paces behind me and the second person to me. The paramedic who follows us round in his car, because we just had the morning break, was literally 5 minutes away. So he was there within a few minutes. And the French guy phoned the local hospital in Caen, and they dispatched 2 ambulances, one with a field cardiac team. So if they'd have needed to, they'd have operated on me there. Apparently they revived me there, which I have no recollection of. But as I says, where's Trish? The doctor who was with me, Jenny, says, hi David, it's Jenny. And as soon as I heard a voice, I remembered what I was doing and where I'd been. And I said, oh, I've had a bit of a funny turn, haven't I? And she went, well, she said, actually, she says, you collapsed. And when we got to you were gone. I said, what do you mean gone? And she says, you had no pulse, no heartbeat. And we had to revive you, and that's to shock me.
Well, that's what would have saved your life, you know. Lucky that you know it's a set of circumstances that were fortunate for you, really.
Half an hour down the road, they wouldn't have got to me.
That's it, yeah.
You know, anywhere else, they wouldn't have got to me. And they all knew me, so they called me the Barmy Brummie. So the lads who I spoke to said we just wouldn't give up on you. We knew you'd come back.
How long ago was that, Dave?
Approaching 2 years. It was the 6th of October 2022.
So, like, how good was that for your mental health? Doing all that walking, was that like?
The walking was part of. I bust my knee. I played sport till I was 47, and then I bust my knee up, and I put a lot of weight on them because I couldn't run anymore. I used to run it every day, play sport, played 6-a-side still. Was really active. All of a sudden couldn't, so went on to weight. So I've become a lot broader and put weight on. So it was like I ended up having a knee operation. Then it was like, right, what am I going to do to replace what I used to do? And I've always been fascinated by both world wars. Granddads and great granddads that served. I've always sort of looked into their history, and I'd seen. And it was at the time when it was the centenaries of the First World War. And I'd seen these walks. And Trish one Christmas says, watch one for Christmas, and I went, sign me up for that. And it was the first one that I did, thinking it would be it was actually in 2018. It was the centenary walk or the walk to commemorate the centenary, and I've done 8 now, I think. And I actually did 2. I did 2 back to back. They're doing one in Normandy and one in northern France across the Somme and Passchendaele. And I think there's 4 of us now, but I'm the only civilian that's done the back to back. So you do the 1 week, and then you do the second one. And then the year after, I'm trying dead on it. But I've just signed. I've just told them I'm going next year. I'm too late this year. I'm not fit enough. But I need a chat. I'm someone who always needs a challenge. So I've told them I'm going. I've got a group of about 40 of the ex-walkers who've walked me over. Have all says we'll be there. Put it up as a last hurrah.
I think it's good to have something to focus on as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know,
it gives you that incentive to keep going.
Anything that it's like with me with the project. I find like my writing really helps me. You know those blogs. I mean, they take me about an hour. I'm in work at 6. we don't start getting busy until about 8. So I have 2 hours every morning where I basically put that 2 hours down to writing a daily blog. And it might not look like a lot when it's there, but once you've edited it and fannied around with it, you know, but it gives you focus, and then it's nice when you get feedback on it. And one of the reasons I started the project, and I don't know if you've seen last night the Jack Grealish thing. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was having a curry on Friday night is my date night with my dog. So I take Reg out on Fridays. So I was having a curry, Reg was under the table. I read this Grealish thing, and I thought, yeah, I don't know his dad well, but I've met Kevin, and he's a nice guy, you know. He you know, just normal bloke. And I was reading this, and I've seen him do stuff before, Jack Grealish. I've seen videos of him coming to airports and stopping to speak to disabled kids. Now his sister's severely disabled. And I thought, you know what, like, you know, he seems like a good lad to me. I know, like, you know, with DBB and all that, fair enough. When he played for the he plays for Man City now. He's a person, like everyone else is a person. And I thought, I wonder, will I put that in the group? But I thought if I put that in the group and say, well done, you know, we're going to get a load of shit back from it, you know, like, because I use those groups. And one of the reasons I started the project is because you couldn't write anything in them.
Yeah.
Because straight away you get those responses. And when I said to you about the phone notifications, now don't get me wrong, you know, Rach, I'll have an argument with anyone, like, you know.
Never.
But you know, that ding of the notification after someone just insulted me and I've said something back, then fucking anxiety rush comes.
Yeah.
And it's like, bloody hell, you know, and it's not like I'm scared or something. It's anxiety. And that's the reason I started the project, to get rid of that element of it. And I put that post on last night, and I was sitting having a curry. I'd had about 3 or 4 pints, and I thought, you know what, let's see what happens. And you know something, I don't think we had one person have a negative reaction about it. I was absolutely amazed. I was like, you know what? And we get less and less of that shit now, don't we, Rach?
We do. It's getting a lot better.
I think I've said this before. It's the only blues group I've gone on and stopped on. I've been on every single one of them and fell out with every single moderator and leader of it and come off it. Yeah. This is the only one where you go on, and it's purely that it's to have adult interaction. Yes, we all have our football tribalism, but sometimes you just actually want adult interaction with like-minded people.
And we all have our views about our club, don't we? It's like, you know, we used to see, you know, like, for instance, a comment, right? Hogan is shit, right? That doesn't mean anything. You want to put a point on there and say, listen, Scott Hogan had a really bad game again today. What's happened to him? You know, he's not performing very well. Fair enough. I'll go back and say, well, you know what? I don't think he's doing too bad. You know, like, conversation, not Hogan's you know, people are like, Hogan's a fucking donkey or something like this. And you go, well, yeah, you know.
Footballer talking about, you know.
Yeah, and the thing that you forget is that, you know, these people have families, don't they, as well?
Yeah.
You know, footballers have families, and their families see the comments. You know, they
But
see.
we
and-
have some of the family members on the group, don't we? We have some of like the grandparents. We got a couple of the wives on the group and things
Yeah.
as well.
Well, I had a fallout. Not a fallout, but you know, Beck put a thing on about Karen Carney leaving
Yeah.
Sky Sports, and I put a thing, and Beck put on like, you know, who knows sort of thing. In other words, she might be coming back to us. I've gone up,
Yeah.
Karen's a legend, you know, and then it happens then, doesn't it? Oh, I hope she fucks off and takes every other female
Yeah.
commentator with her. Bang, 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 bang. But what they don't know is Mick Carney, who I know from years ago, is on our group.
Mm.
He sees those comments. That's his daughter, and they're slagging his daughter off, basically because she's a woman.
She's a,
Who's
yeah,
put the shirt
a
on?
female
Who's
into
the shirt?
football.
Wore the shirt and lifted a trophy for us. It's comical,
Yeah.
isn't it? It honestly disgusts me. So some of the fans,
Can be
young
embarrassing, can't it?
just I had it last year, and Rachel knows a little bit. I go out of my way to try and help people and be there for people. And we had an incident on one of our away days, and some lads have been pulled for it. There's certain rumours started. I had people who I'd looked after, who
Yeah.
I'd helped out, when in their darkest hour,
Without a second thought.
calling me a snake, a police informer, called me a copper. I've been called a copper before because I kept myself to myself for years. When I sort of come back into the fold, everyone was like, oh, "We know you, police." Really, you know.
Yeah.
Don't mention me name down Chelsea police station. Yes, they'll know me, but it won't be for the reasons you think, Matt. You know, it's and it just turns your stomach, and that's because of social media. Those things are really powerful, and again, linking it back to mental health, it made me not want to go to the Blues. I didn't want the Blues family. That what they did for me and Trish when I was ill in France, and when I come back, and now they embrace me back, helped unbelievably to sort of get me to where I was and where I am now.
Mm.
And I spoke to Tony yesterday, and we both had a few bad weeks, but the football's back next week, so we'll be back amongst our family. But to then have some of that family turn on, but not even have the balls to come and say it to your face.
Yeah.
Come and if you think
Chinese whispers all
Yeah.
along the way.
and you think you don't understand the impact that you're having on people's lives. People see me and on the coaches, and I try and stay away from Davo's diaries, let the others, you know, do that. But there's times when you call, they oh, he's all right, look at him, he's okay, and people have this perception of your life. Trish and me have suffered with it from pretty much day one that we've been together. People think you're multi-millionaires living the high life. They haven't got a clue. We're both working class people that have fought really hard for what we've got. I had one life and gave it all away and walked away from it and started all over again. I've been lucky in life to have had some really good jobs, but I flipping worked hard for them. And it nearly cost me my health, and it nearly cost me my second marriage that people don't know because she never saw me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I
it's
think
too easy
people
to have pot shots. It's too easy
people
to have
get
pot
fooled by
shots.
that. But sorry, Dad. People get fooled by that sort of social face that you have, don't they? You
Yeah.
know, people look at you and they think, you know, like Dave's all right, yeah, blah 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 blah. Steve's all right, Russ, right, you know. But they obviously don't see you when you get home. They don't
No.
know what's going on in your head. They don't know that you had to kill yourself to go into work this morning or whatever. You know, however it affects you, only goes on within your head. And social media, I was thinking about the other day, social media, because I mean, because you know all this thing now about Stansfield coming back. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on about it. Blah blah blah. No, it's like social media, that isn't it? It is. But I mean, social media in our day was picking the Evening Mail up and seeing that we just signed Jimmy Green off. You know, that's the first thing you knew about him coming was when it was in the mail. You know, so everything is sort of instant now, isn't it? Everything has to be instant. Judgment to be made. You know, people have to look at you and think, well, I see it in all the other. I mean, people say to me, "Oh, if you went, you know, next time you go back to St Andrews, it'd be brilliant. Like, you know, loads of people are going to love you." I say, "A fucking lot of people probably buy me a drink. A lot of people want to fucking kill me because the amount of private messages I get, you know, when you ban someone or whatever, you know, block them, you fucking wanker, mate, or you're dead, mate,
Yeah.
or next time I see you, mate," and all this, you know, bullshit, you know, like your normal social warrior stuff. But all those things don't particularly affect me. Those emails and that don't affect me, but they would affect other people really badly. And someone sitting there with nothing to do, think I'll email that bloke that I don't even know, and I'll just, because he's banned me for saying something, I'm just going to tell him that I'll be looking for him. I had a bloke, you remember, Rach, that guy that threatened to go and find Sarah.
Yes, I do, yeah.
Remember him? You know, a similar thing. Well, it was a bit of an argument on our side, probably about 3 or 4 months into the site. And he said, he messaged me and said, I can't get to you in Spain, but I'm just going to say this. I know where your daughter lives and she lives near me. Right.
What an absolute arsehole.
Yeah. So anyway, I got his photo, fucking whacked it on our group. So anybody know this wanker? Like, you know, loads of people can't, you know, like you can imagine, you know. Anyway, he used to run a kids football team. He got kicked off that, blah, blah, blah. So I got a result in the end, but it isn't that. It's the initial this guy. And if you've seen him, Tony, honestly, like, you know, it's just, I'm not going to say anything, you know, but you wouldn't be worrying about him too much. But for someone to make a comment like that to someone, I mean, what on earth is going through his head, you know, sitting down and talking something like that? And that's the problem with social media. It causes so many mental health issues. It does.
If you think if they can make a comment like that, what can they actually do? Will they follow through with it and things? That's the thing.
The people who
and
tend
one
to
might,
do
you know.
comments like that haven't got the balls to sort of follow it through.
I don't usually. And if you're going to do something like that, you don't tell anybody about it on social media.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But my anxiety would just take me to the worst place then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it would,
yeah, absolutely.
How long did you have those issues, Rach, like your depression and stuff?
Say that again.
How long have you had the issues with depression and anxiety?
Oh, donkey's years. So first diagnosed when I was at school. So probably about 13, 14. And I'm 44 now. And I always say I've got depression and anxiety. That hasn't got me. Because I don't want that to define me as a person. I'm more than just someone that has their medical conditions and mental health.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's just like a dark cloud sometimes, isn't it? And it's being able to, I think it's being able to find your own coping mechanism.
Yeah.
The problem is with people that can't find their own coping mechanisms, that's where it goes wrong. And yeah, I think you struggle with it, Dave, a bit, don't you? Because you're saying yourself now, it comes back sometimes. You don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, when the dark cloud comes, the irrational side of your brain takes over and you just can't find a way. You have to, the only benefit is being experienced around it. You know, you can work through it.
Yeah.
The thing recently that's shaken me is we've lost quite a few of the recent years to suicide. And when we lost Elvis recently, he knocked a lot of people. And if you remember Paddy a few years ago, just as we went into COVID, I actually got my thought process a few weeks ago was rationalising why people would commit suicide. I've been suicidal. I got close 20 odd years ago, but my kids were young and I couldn't just at that moment picturing my kids without a dad. I couldn't do it. I haven't got the balls to do it.
Yeah.
So you stepped away. When you're actually in a place where you're rationalising why someone would commit suicide, I was like, it's time to do something different. I don't want to keep having these conversations with myself because it's you know, it all built from that. I'm useless. I'm dragging people down. I'm sucking the life out of them. I don't fear.
I hate it, Dave, when people say that committing suicide is cowardly, because I don't think it is.
bravest thing you'll do, I think.
That's exactly it. And people say, oh, someone commits suicide, what a fucking coward or something, It isn't that at all, is it? It's like, it's taking something away from yourself. That's the most important thing to everyone, which is your life, isn't it?
Yeah,
And if it's something that's going to make you do that, it must be something absolutely dreadful, mustn't it?
Yeah.
In your head. Yeah. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a life event. It doesn't have to be this big thing that hit you, and therefore I'm going to take my life. I'll be totally honest with you. Even like daily, I will get thoughts of, oh, just kill yourself, and it will come. And most of the time, I'll be like, what? Talking to myself, but what are you talking about, Russell? One thing that we talk about coping mechanisms. One thing I realised like years ago was that I'd have these really dark days, and I'd have that cloud, and I'd have to hide from the world, and the next day would be different. The next day might be one of the funniest days I'd had, and I'd been with friends, and so what I realised was every time I was in that real hole, I'd have that thought that tomorrow might be different. And so that kind of always stopped me hurting myself. Tomorrow, because of my experience, it might be different. And that would get me through, to tell you the truth. But that doesn't stop the thoughts even today. And I'm clean and sober for 3 odd years,
But that is
Well
a
done,
good loop to have, because I have that loop with a lot of, even some silly stuff.
Yeah.
Just like, tomorrow will be better.
Tomorrow will be better.
Even say at work, if we're going to work and we've had a shit morning and things are falling over left, right, I go, may as well have a good afternoon. Just that.
I think to myself sometimes,
yeah.
If you're feeling shit and shit's going on and things are going wrong, I wish I could just like jump forward a week and see what's happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I can't wait to see what happens, because I'm scared of what's going to happen. It gives me anxiety. So if I could just go forward a week, then what was going to happen will have happened.
Yeah.
As stupid as that sounds.
But I find, and straight, you, even though you can be in a really bad place, you can be the catalyst for other people to spring forward and get them. Because I think, I try to sort of work through. I reflect on everything every single day. I reflect on stuff. So I like what and I really think if you've been to the lowest point you can get, when you actually see people that are worrying about shit, who cares if a machine's broke down and I can't make me parts for a couple of hours? We'll just do a bit of overtime and catch up. It's like, it's trivial. Don't, just move on past it. Everything's going to be okay.
People are driven by the wrong things, aren't
they? Some people say to me, why'd you go to work still? I got back from France. I was in France for 6 weeks recovery. From day one after my op, I was driving them mad to get home. As soon as I got home, I was driving them mad to let me go back to work. And people go, why? Because I need the reason to get up every morning. And when I'm at work, I've got a purpose, I've got a direct, I've got an objective, and I've got people around me that I bounce off all day, and I love it. I absolutely love my job. I've ran large organisations. I've travelled all around the world with work. I just run a factory now in Redditch, making fasteners for that old aircraft together. And I absolutely love it, because the people there are fantastic. And if they knew how much they've helped me just from being themselves, and it's just incredible, because you need. And I think the one thing from all the guys that didn't have it in them to stop themselves, they were lonely. They were alone.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Whilst you've got people around you, people who even just care enough to just be in your company, they don't have to do anything. It's the one thing that keeps you sane. It's the one thing that keeps you going.
I think though, it's like us having this discussion now, and honestly, all of you have been absolutely brilliant. It's so good to open yourself up like that. But if we're talking now and there is someone that's alone, you're not alone.
You're not.
Yeah.
If you're watching this podcast and listen, we just run a small football group, but a small football group for someone could be really, really important. You know, you have friends within that group, all of us. I mean, there's 4 of us here that would help you at the drop of a hat, you know. So if you're feeling lonely, don't be alone. And there's always help out there anyway, isn't there? I mean, Russ, you sort of, you're a screw, ain't you? So, you know, there must be some.
I realise where I'm doing his face from now.
You don't recognise him out of uniform, but Russ, there is help out there for people, isn't there?
Russ, there is. You got Samaritans and Mind. You know, there's lots of talking things you can do now. Dave touched on it in just talking therapies as well. I ain't a screw. I'm a drug worker.
Mate, I was only joking. I know you're not.
So you're offended him now.
Listen, don't get anxious over it. I don't think you're a screw, all right?
But there is help out there, and generally it's talking to someone. It's being able to talk to someone who's just going to sit there and listen, because that's all people need. They just need somebody to listen to you. I think if I could have, I remember phoning a friend. I was so down. You know, there's this thing in suicide that you're most dangerous when you're at peace. When you're okay is when you're more than likely to do it. And I was in that moment, and I'd come to terms with that. That's what I was going to do. I was about in my 30s at the time. Phoned a friend. I was tripping, don't get me wrong. I phoned a friend and I said to him, I'm done with the world. But yeah, I just remember being in that hole, and all he did was sit there and listen to me, and he kept me talking until he found me, and then he put me to sleep on his sofa. It was just the fact that somebody went out, instead of just going, I'm busy, or I've got stuff to do. Yeah, Russ, take care of yourself. Do you know what I mean? Somebody actually stopped, and instead of giving me answers to everything, just let me talk. And that was all I needed to do in that moment.
It's important to have that sort of backing, isn't it? Listen, I'm going to ask you guys. I mean, thanks so much for today. It's been absolutely brilliant. And you know, you didn't have to do this. It's just all of you wanted to do it, and it's really important that we have people like that will do it. What I'm thinking of doing is, in a week or two, I'm going to put it out into the group, give the people the actual the join, enabling them the password and meeting number to enable them to join our call, and let people just come in on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd all be willing to join me on that, you know.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm dying for that.
And then what we can do is, when people come on, it might be someone who's lonely, it might be someone who has a story to tell, to give them some sort of backing, you know, and to tell them, listen, you know, you're not alone, because all of us, there's 4 people here who are all very different people, you know, all from very different backgrounds, different ages. You know, there's one thing that joins us together, and that's our sadness in being Blues fans. But apart from the Blues thing, the thing that we all have in common is that we've all had that black dog around us, haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, at some point in our lives, and for all of us, it threatens your mental health in a bad way, and having bad mental health can give you a bad life. And if we can help anyone just overcome that a little bit, it would be absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to, when we've done this, I'm going to try and put it onto our site tomorrow, because it's a pain in the arse. You've got to download it, you've got to convert it, blah blah blah. The Blues are playing in a couple of hours, so and I'll try and get it onto the site tomorrow, and people will be able to have a look at it, have a listen to it, and see what they think. And then I'll throw it open for next time, if you don't mind.
Brilliant.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Are we all right with that?
Yeah.
So,
All good.
Russ, thank you very much, mate. You've been absolutely brilliant and very open with us. Dave, you know, your story's amazing, and son, you know, like, just keep going. You've done absolutely brilliantly. And Rach, it'd be nice to have you back. Hurry up back. We're missing you on the project. But Rach, you know, the
I'm
same.
due back in the morning.
Oh yeah, oh, what a shame.
Oh
Never
no.
Hopefully we're going to Southport, right? We can sort that out.
Yeah.
We'll get that one as well. Yeah.
I'll probably end up parking my car at the train station and meet you there.
I'll drop a note out later or first thing in the morning and sort it out.
Okie dokie.
Guys,
Yeah.
I just want to
All
say
right.
thanks so much for today. And of
Thank
course,
you.
everyone, don't forget, come and have a look at us on the project. And also the website now, we're going to be featured doing a mental health feature on the website. So that's bcfctheproject.co.uk. You can visit that website. You can buy your tickets off us or off the Blues through us, so I don't upset anyone at the
Yeah.
Blues.
It's not Sunday, you won't.
I know, yeah. I mean, getting a message off them on Sunday asking me what I'm doing is a bit out of order, isn't it? Guys, thanks so much, honestly. And I was gonna say we're gonna get 3 points today. We're not, but I can't wait to see Davis against Corbrand today. That's gonna be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're going down?
I'm not today. I'm not today because we've got people coming over, but I cannot wait for next Saturday. I literally can't wait to get started.
You're
Today,
going down, Russ.
no, I'm not actually, but I'm going to see my Uncle Dave, who got me into the Blues. He's down from Newcastle, but I'm really looking forward to today just to
Is that
where
Mr.
we're at.
And you're not
Mr.
going, right?
Reynolds?
Mr. Who?
I'm not, no. I'll give today a miss.
Dave
Listen.
Lawrence.
No,
I'm gonna
Tom Linton.
We'll wind it up, and we're going to do it again in a week or two, and we'll get people on with us. So from Reg,
Sleepy Reg.
looking at me, and
He's literally not
from
there.
all of us, Russ, Dave, and Rach, guys, thanks ever so much for watching, and keep in touch. And listen, everyone, be safe. All right.
Up the Blues.
See you later. Blues, keep right on.